But segment 2, I get an email every day. Hey, your credit score, check it out for free on whatever. But this week, we're determining the credit score. Whose credit went up, whose credit went down after week 1. Coach Price.
Easy. But I'm going to start on the downside. That would be your Florida Gators. I wouldn't put nothing in the Florida Gators right now. I'm talking about, man, your stock so low. Dude, y'all couldn't even finance a jar of jelly bean. It's terrible. It's terrible. You know, you had one job to do. Y'all were down to their third string quarterback, and this kid came out with what, almost 400 yards passing on him. I mean, geez, Auburn, Florida, all you had was one job to do, and that was just go win a ball game where you actually, on paper, were better. Now, of course, Utah is a ranked team, and they're a good squad. But dude, they did not have their general plan in the ball game, and the kid that came in the ball game and the other kid that came in the ball game straight up spanked y'all. So credit in Florida right now is zilch. But this is the kicker. In Colorado, man, the stock is high. And the reason why the stock is high is not only did Deion come into a program that might have won one ball game in a season, dude, he got y'all ranked inside the top 25 in week 1. So stock in Colorado is going up. So if I were you, I would not put any stock in Gator Bites, and I would put my stock in Bison Burgers.
Love it. I will say this. Florida Gators in the second half were a little bit better on defense, but I think there's one thing that says why. I think if they leave the starting quarterback in, Utah does a whole lot better. They brought a running quarterback in. He made some mistakes, and Florida's defense did play a little bit better in the second half. But you're right, they were beat. They were out coached. I mean, 4th and 13, and you're running a screen. It was laughable at times. But yeah, I think Florida, they got a lot of trouble. Credit check. Kevin Davis, go ahead.
I'm going to say stock up Mike Norvell. Just a great coach. He beat a really good, I think it's going to be a 10-win LSU team. And he made correct adjustments at halftime, and he coached a beautiful game. So, I mean, I already had him pretty high on the list, but I think his stock went up even further. And my stock down guy, and it's going to kind of hurt me because he's an Alabama graduate, Dabo Swinney. He got just murked against Duke, and I don't understand what's going on with him. That program's not recruiting at an elite level right now. You know, teams can bring in 25 players a year. For some reason, Dabo decides he can bring in 16 guys and then bring in his 10 walk-ons a year like he wants to. So I'm not sure what he's trying to do at Clemson, but from a guy that stock was just about as high as it could get, I don't know if he could finance a waterbed today. So
yeah, I agree. It is kind of wild seeing Dabo Swinney, just 4 years ago, talk that as maybe being the best coach in college football. And maybe he could be a part of our next segment that we'll get to in a little while.
He didn't just lose. He got beat by 21,
Smoked.
He did. It was a Labor Day barbecue presented by Duke football. And I predicted that. I won't let you forget it. I said that Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers would be waking up.
He did.
In a world of trouble. And I was right, thankfully. But Jared Cole, credit check.
Credit check. I got two for the bad credit because they had to be talked about. The first is the Florida Gators. What in the hell were you doing? Dude, the bad part about it is Graham Mertz was not the problem. Graham Mertz was absolutely not the issue. I thought he played fine. No problem at all. The play calling, the shuffle passes on 4th down, all this other the 48 formations they came out with in 30. Man, you can't run the football. You can't run screens correctly. You have one tight end that wants to catch the football, and everything else is just a problem. I don't know if Billy Napier needs to get an offensive coordinator down there to revamp the whole thing. You don't go forward on fourth down early in the game down there in the red zone to put it. Just get your name on the board. You don't do that. The shuffle path on fourth down was where I almost had to turn it off. Dude, you can't play defense. Now I will say I had to look his name up. I will say stock up on Shamar James, the number 6 linebacker for Florida. I think the guy had 86 tackles in that game. That was the one bright spot they had. But I think they got beat up front on both ends of the ball. The third string quarterback looked like a Heisman winner against them. It was just bad. The second one is obviously Clemson and Dabo Swinney, and I love to see it. I love to see it. Duke went in there and whooped that ass. And TJ said it great the other day, man. You got to have some brothers on your team to win that ball game, and they don't have jack nothing. They don't have anything. I thought I really expected to see a lot more out of a Garrett Riley offense than that. I mean, yeah, Will Shipley can run the football, but that's all they can do. Defensively, they got manhandled up front.
Football.
They got manhandled up front. Dabo had no answers. Dabo, he's been sitting there all year talking about how his kicker can kick 70 yards. He has opportunity to kick it. He doesn't send him out there. They turn the ball over every time you flip the channel back. That's a terrible program at the moment. I'm not going to say terrible program. That program's in a terrible spot at the moment. You're sitting down the street. You're looking at Florida State just a few miles down the road, who's taking in transfer portal wide receivers and everybody else, and they went out there and just smoked LSU on Sunday night.
Hold on.
Now you got to play.
Hey.
You got to play those guys in 3 weeks, man. If they don't beat you by 60, you got out unscathed. That Dabo Swinney's going to have to reevaluate everything he's got going on down there. You cannot just take 2 transfer portal backup quarterbacks out of this whole thing and expect it's going to work. That's not how the game is played anymore. Roy Williams at North Carolina basketball got out of basketball because he did not want to deal with the transfer portal and NIL. So he didn't try to sugarcoat it. He didn't try to work around it. He said, hey, man, this isn't for me anymore, and he retired. If Dabo wants to go around saying, I don't want to do the NIL, I don't want to do this, name, image, and likeness of God, all this other stuff, then you either got the dudes or you don't. And right now, they don't have it.
And you know what?
Not happen.
And you know what? Messaging has been the problem for Dabo Swinney. You come in, and a lot of these guys do it. Like, I understand faith. I understand all of that. I have nothing against faith. I was raised Christian, all of that. But you coaching a lot of different kids who believe a lot of different things, and they're young. He's been talking this. I'm not trying to be ugly, but this God thing and this faith thing and all of this, you got to understand, you're going to get a certain type of kid that way. And messaging has been a big problem for Clemson. I've been waiting on Clemson to fall because of Dabo Swinney. I can't stand the guy. A lot of people say he's great, he this. I can't stand him. And I'm going to tell you something else. My coach, Brian Kelly, his messaging has been totally poor. He just needs to shut up. Dude, you don't need to be talking about Georgia this and we thought we were this and that. That is a poor message to send to your guys. His stock went down with me, and I was high on him. But he's going to have to clean up the way that he communicates with his team. And the LSU, my Tigers, their stock went down. They played a terrible game, when it counted. We don't play footballs in half. We play football as a game. It's 4 quarters. And it was an embarrassing game to me to watch them. Yes, the first half looked better than the last half, but just questionable calls. The team didn't play with any fire. It was just like they were just there. I guarantee you, if that game had been in Death Valley, we won that game. But you got to be able to win on the road. So for me, LSU stock way down, and Dabo Swinney, the Clemson Tigers, their stock way down too.
Oh yeah, and that's the biggest part about why my stock is even farther down on Dabo Swinney. You had all offseason to get ready for one game, and if Steve's up here calling it, from St. Augustine, Florida, that Duke's going to come in and cause a problem, then Dabo Swinney should have known that this game meant a lot more than what he took advantage of in this game. Them boys did not look like they were even remotely ready to play that football
Right.
game. But
They weren't in shape.
Yeah, they weren't in shape. I don't know if any of you ever have been to South Carolina. It's hot down there too. You have all summer to get in shape. You have dudes everywhere. Get in shape. But I'll change it to my my great credit. Nobody said anything about them yet. How about those Tar Heels? Dude, I tell you what, man, they went out there against South Carolina and they
Embarrassed
had,
them.
I believe, 8 or 9 sacks and 16 to 17 tackles for loss. 25% of South Carolina's offensive plays resulted in that. I mean, just that is night and day as compared to what we saw last year. And that really opened it up for Drake May. I don't think we ever saw him in this game freak out, felt like he had to put the whole weight of the team on his shoulders. Carolina's defensive line's got some dogs, dude. They have got some cats out there. So I understand that Florida State is obviously king of the castle in the ACC right now. But if Carolina can play like that and they can sit there and, get better week to week playing defense like that, man, come time for the title game, I mean, look out for Drake May and the Tar Heels.
Hey, I totally
And I will
agree.
say, I was wrong about Colorado. Watch out for those boys.
We got a
Hey.
segment for that. You just
That's right.
hold your buffaloes. We got a segment for that.
That's right. Hey, I will agree real quick on the Tar Heels. And what was our question last week was the offensive line of North Carolina, and I said I think they're going to be better. They were better last Saturday night in a big win against South Carolina. Drake May looked unbelievable, as he should. We had him up there that high. Let's be honest. Tony and Jared, you both said it. Clemson don't have enough brothers. They got some tan guys. They don't got some brothers. They needed them.
Hey,
On Monday night at the
Hey,
barbecue.
that ain't no excuse. No excuse. I didn't have too many brothers when I coached y'all, and we were
That's
pretty
true.
damn good.
Hey, that's true.
Oh,
TJ, go ahead.
hey, real quick to build on that Clemson Duke game. This is for for somebody in this group, Dylan. Clemson had 56 4 or 5 stars on their roster. Duke had a combined 2 4 stars on their entire team. Dabo got out coached. Period. I think Kirk Herbstreit summed it up best. He said the noise was getting loud last year, but everyone chose to blame it on DJ.
Mhm.
I didn't think DJ was the problem. I didn't think DJ was great. Don't get me wrong. But Dabo, I've said it since he started winning championships. I told everybody when they were starting, I want him as Bama's next head coach. I said, no. I was the guy that said if Jeremy Pruitt would have continued success at Tennessee, I'd rather have him over Dabo, simply for the fact that he can recruit. Dabo is not a recruiter. He's going to get you one good player, and then he's going to try to build a bunch of role player guys, and you can't do that in the SEC. If you don't recruit with the best, you ain't going to consistently play with them or beat them. But
Man,
let's get
y'all
to
better
this.
stay away from Jeremy Pruitt.
Well,
You won't catch up with them fries.
This was before the allegations, and hey, when his sentence is up, that's legal now. But
Yeah.
I don't want Pruitt. I'll talk. We can talk about who I want. He's in Athens right now.
yeah,
But,
but it's human. You already know.
But anyways, don't be shaking your head, Cole. He's a Bama alum.
Yeah, hey, man, you leave my boy alone now.
Anyways, hey, credit skyrocketing in the 800s. Michael Penix Jr. and the Washington Huskies. Dude is unbelievable, man. He's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country, veteran guy. A lot of y'all in here, when we were talking about the game, thought Boise State, that was going to be a game. I tried to tell y'all, for one, Boise lost their quarterback. They had a new starter. And that Washington offense is for real. It wasn't close. It was a straight spanking. 56-19. Michael Penix Jr., 450 yards passing, and giving five of them touchdowns. 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk about them Lindell credit scores now.
What
Hey.
credit scores?
Brian Kelly takes the cake this week, boys. Look, man, like Barry said, for one, you don't get 30 piece. I don't care about that garbage. He got 30 piece. You don't get 30 piece and then come in after the game with your quarterback, your leader of your team sitting right beside you and say, this isn't the team that I thought they were. This ain't the team's fault. This is your fault. This is a coaching standpoint. You're the one that chose to go for it on 4th down twice instead of taking the points to have the lead in the first half. You're the one that you were in charge of letting offensive coordinator do this or that. Has nothing to do with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels couldn't control if he wanted to kick a field goal or go for it.
Exactly.
And then you sit there and you talk about Georgia. What does Georgia have to do with the LSU Tiger?
Right.
That's right.
Exactly.
LSU, man, look, if you look at LSU's program, they're normally an average team, then they have a Cinderella year every 7-8 years.
Hey,
Not
watch.
to mention they had their best defensive player dropping in coverage every
That's
single
what I'm
snap.
getting to, Kevin.
Oh.
You got the best, not arguably, you have the best pass rushing linebacker in the entire country as a sophomore, true sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
And you pull Pete Golden. You're dropping him back in coverage. He rushed, 6 or 7 times for the entire game?
Maybe.
And those situations, and the times they sent him weren't real, nothing he could have done to affect him. I mean, they set up the pass protection to his side. I mean, it was pretty much given that he was coming whenever he did rush. I just don't understand how you can sit there and you can blame your players after week 1, because the whole first half, you had the opportunities. It looked, and that's where we need to pump the brakes on Florida State a little bit. Look, I put them, they're my preseason in the playoff. I made that known that I was high on them this year. But consistency is a factor that you have to take into account in college football. If Florida State plays like they did in the first half against another mid-of-the-pack team, they're in a dogfight the whole game. They play like they did in the second, they beating everybody by 15 plus. Because in the first half, they couldn't block a soul. Jordan Travis was on his back. Jordan Travis was throwing screen pass interceptions, and they couldn't do nothing. And that's the thing with the coaching with Brian Kelly. You know your secondary's terrible. There's no way you went the whole freaking spring, summer, fall camp, all that, and not notice that you're hurting in the secondary. And to help that, why wouldn't you try to send more pressure? I understand that leaves your guys out on the island, but you got to affect the quarterback in some way to where it's not so easy on them. If you're not
beat
affecting
either
the
way.
quarterback and you know your secondary is not good, he's got all day to throw, and he's going to find, especially a guy like Travis, 6th-year quarterback. He's going to find the openings. So for that reason, Brian Kelly's got a lot to prove going forward. And in the way the LSU fans are, he better, like I told Barry, he better not drop another one this month. Because then that seat's going to start getting hot a little bit. They ain't going to fire him, but it's going to be another Les Miles type deal.
Yeah.
But why
All
would
right.
you? Why would he not bring more pressure? Florida State wasn't running the football. If they were out
True.
there, running for 150 yards in the first half, then whatever, you got to, stay steady. They weren't even trying to run the football.
That's where you get, where I say the out coach come in. Norvell made adjustments at halftime. Brian Kelly thought it was going to be just like the first half. He didn't change a thing. Didn't change a single thing. Go watch the film. The formations, the stunts, the gap shot, the coverages. Nothing was switched up. The
2
same
shots
exact
in the red zone, 0 points. And it
Terrible.
ain't the fact that, and them 14 points, you could say, well, it wouldn't have won the ball game, but those 14 points that he left on the board by turning it over in the red zone on down,
I mean,
that's
if you
momentum.
go up 6, if you go up 6 in the first half on them, the way things were going, who's to say that Jordan Travis, because he'd already threw a pick, he was rattled a little bit in the first half. Who's to say he comes out and tries to force something, and then you get a fumble or an interception, and then you got a chance to go up double digits before half.
I think LSU made Florida State look better than they really are. We'll see. LSU played really bad.
Florida
I
State's a
think
good
Florida
team.
It's hard
Yeah, but
to
they're gonna
judge
be all
anything
right.
in week 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna be all right. Go Tigers.
I just, man, the only thing about that is Wingo was disruptive on the defensive line, unbelievably. So if you'd have brought down Harold Perkins and had both of them going at it all night, man, I don't think he has the time to sit in the pocket and do what he did.
Yeah.
That'd be the last thing I say on that one.
All right. Hey, we knew the argument would be heated when we started talking about Florida State and LSU. And we're going to throw it down to Auburn. Craig, what you got to say?
I got to say, man, I mean, when you look at LSU and Florida State, I mean, those are 2 top 10 ranked teams. Again, preseason polls don't mean nothing. I mean, let's just be honest. But, I mean, there was no question that I feel like both those teams deserve to be in the top 10 just by what happened last year, right? So that was a coin flip. So, I mean, was it a bad loss for LSU? I mean, any loss is bad, but it wasn't the worst loss. Dabo's loss looks bad. I mean, Dabo's credit score is down like 4 flats in the hood right now, boys. I mean, it's down, down, down. You don't get picked off by Duke. I mean, his as much as you know, and he's in a great position. That's why he's at a school where he can win 9 games a year, 10 games a year, and just keep on going and going and going and going and going and making the money and not putting as much effort into it as these other guys have. But, you know, I think Dabo's down. And my one, and I'm going to ride with you on this one, Barry. Prime wasn't lying. He was coming. He brought his luggage with him, and it was Louis.
Yeah.
He brought his Louis Vuitton luggage with him, man, because they look good. That team was ready to play. I was really impressed, and I really thought that them kids were going to lay an egg. I thought Prime set him up a little bit. I'm like, he should have been a little more low-key with it, but that ain't Prime's style. But it worked out. I mean, they performed. I watched that game from beginning to end, and it was a great game. It was a fun game to watch. What's the kid? Not Shador, but
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter.
Heisman.
Yeah. And Hunter, when he said, you want to know who the dude is? That's the dude. He wasn't kidding, man. That kid's for real. He's a little undersized, but his stock went up. And just to kind of stick with and I'll tie LSU into this a little bit too. What about TJ Finley? Pulled a big upset. Went and threw for some touchdowns. Actually showed up and was a quarterback for once. He didn't do it for LSU. He didn't do it for Auburn, but he sure did it for Texas State.
Testament to how bad Baylor was. That was going to be one credit score going down, but their credit score's been down for a while.
So bad.
Yeah. I mean, if TJ's carving you up, you might want to rethink. But that's my two, man. I got Dabo way down. That was an ugly loss. It don't get a whole lot uglier than that for Clemson. And I got Prime still riding high. I mean, we'll see the conference he's in. I hadn't looked at their schedule. When's Colorado's next big game?
This week?
They got
next week.
They got Nebraska
USC.
this week.
Oh, they got the Cornhuskers. That one's at home, though, right? That was in Colorado. So, I think the home crowd, it's crazy when you get a bunch of kids start believing something, man. I mean, a lot of things happen. It's going to be interesting to see.
Cold lock of the week.
Well, that's the difference. What people don't understand, and even I was a little hesitant on Colorado, but Deion is in the veins of those kids. His messaging that's what he focuses on. He focuses on the intangible. He know he might not have the most talent of throughout football, but what he knows, he's got enough talent, and then his messaging takes him over the edge. So that's you're right. He's got those kids believing, and we don't know what's going to happen. I'm a little bit apprehensive now to say too much about Colorado. I don't know what's going to happen because they shocked the world. They got to be up.
Yeah, you know what happens to them though. It's a feel good story, and it makes my heart feel good. And I'm happy for the kids. I like Prime, but once he runs into the Kirby Smarts or the Nick Sabans that got 457 5-stars. I mean, their fifth string could start on any other team in the country. Those teams just grind them to a pulp, man.
But that's fine.
That's fine. I'm with you too. He's already far exceeded his expectations. That's why I picked him.
Let's keep in mind, this isn't a destination job for Deion. He's got his eyes set on something bigger than Colorado.
Yep.
And it's going to be in the SEC. And knowing Auburn, that's where he'll end up because they love gimmick, loudmouth head coaches.
Here we go.
I don't think Deion. Look, Deion's smarter than that. I don't think Deion comes to SEC.
No,
He knows
Big
better.
12.
I say Big 10.
Yeah, I don't think he
With
can do
way
the boosting
conference
thing, man.
are reshaping, he may not have a choice.
I say ACC because he wants to get at Florida State because he ain't got nothing to do with them.
Well,
Deion-
they never offered him either.
You say that, but Deion's got an ego, man. He wants to show everybody in the world that he's better than the best. And where's the best reside? The SEC.
Yeah, that's true.
But he
So-
can't-
Let's just hold off and see what Freeze does for a little bit first before we start naming Deion the next head coach of Auburn.
Hey,
We're still paying for the last two. Give us a minute.
I'm
let's
just saying,
wrap this segment up with the last but not least. Dylan, what's your credit looking like?
Man, that low credit, I'm picking it up where Tony put it down. Whoever in the hell made the decision to drop Harold Perkins in coverage 39 times and only rush him 7 times. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? You got the next Micah Parsons. like he's legitimately like built the same. He's the same play style as Micah Parsons, and you do that, and you expect to win. Whoever made that decision, bro, on to the next, man. But anyway, stock up. I'm gonna go with just the transfer portal in general because we all talked down on it. We all said, you know, you can't just glue together a bunch of talent and expect to win. But two teams in FSU and Colorado who did it the most, they came out and dominated, man. They look great. So
Great point.
yeah, so stock up on that transfer portal.
Great point.
Totally agree. And I'll go ahead and give you mine. Stock up. I'll take responsibility for the whole group as the host. Deion Sanders. You know what? I was proud of him when I turned that TV on at noon kickoff, and I didn't see that ugly cowboy hat and his socks above jogging pants, you know, looking like a buffoon out there. I was already happy. But then when they started playing and moving the football and scoring, 40 plus, 50 plus, yard plays, I said, okay, I might be a Buffalo tomorrow, or I might at least go get a bison burger somewhere, because the stock up is Colorado. Let's be honest. Stock down, I predicted it last week. It's the Clemson Tigers. They woke up on Tuesday morning with the worst hangover that only Cedartown, Georgia could bring you on a Labor Day weekend. And let's be honest, Dabo Swinney, we know he was in church a day early on Tuesday night. And Wednesday night, he showed up before the doors opened and was banging on the doors, hoping they would let him in. But let's be honest, if he continues on this track, there might be a couple crosses burning in his front yard like we saw around the Titans. Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers are in trouble.